Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 2 of Good Faith and Fastballs. We are your hosts. I am Sean from Imperial with my partner in crime, Mike Z, aka Zums.
Today, we are going to be going through injuries, timelines, pitchers, and hitters. What are we to do with the Atlanta Braves starting rotation? In addition to that, we will be reviewing some young guys to roster, and we will finish with an auction house of over-under bets for the year.
All that and more on Good Faith and Fastballs. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Good Faith and Fastballs. Today, we want to lead with some topical news as we are ready to open up the 2026 MLB campaign, specifically for fantasy baseball, of course. And we thought it would be a good idea to take a look at the notable injuries that are current and active, and that will play a role in your fantasy baseball team in the season moving forward. A lot of high-profile names out there, pitchers and hitters. So we're going to take a look at them one by one, give you a little note on what's going wrong, maybe when you could expect to see them. So we'll go ahead and start with the pitchers here coming on your screen. First, big name in Philadelphia, Zach Wheeler. This is a guy that's been a perennial all-star, an ace for years and years now. Extremely consistent. Dealt with the shoulder injury last year, but man, if you're a Zach Wheeler owner, you got some good news recently. He's already he's going to go on a rehab assignment this Saturday. He's targeting a May 1st return. What do you think about Wheeler's? If you do have him, are you confident? What are your expectations there?
So I believe that he went 98th overall in our league. So that's the tail end of the fourth round, which I thought was a little bit early, but obviously somebody had some better information than I did because it looks like he's only set to miss a month. And the Phillies need him in that division with Atlanta and the Mets. I think that's going to be a gauntlet of a division. He looked good in his rehab start that he just recently had as well. Fastball looked good. He will not be obviously on the opening day roster, but he is, like you said, targeting a May 1st return. So I think that's going to be great value at
I think
98th
that's a
overall.
sneaky pick. Some folks will, they might have forgot about Mr. Wheeler, but the fact that he's progressing that quickly, that could be a steal. Another high-profile name, this one in New York, someone that we're familiar with as Pirate fans, Garrett Cole, missed all of last year with the elbow. He did throw some innings in spring training, targeting a late end of May return. Would you like to have Garrett Cole on your team?
I mean, I've had Garrett Cole in the past. I love the guy as a pitcher. Obviously, I think being a Pittsburgh fan, seeing him pitch here, I don't think he ever truly reached where we wanted him to reach, or maybe just the team around him wasn't all that great. But the last start that he had a few days ago, I believe it was last night actually. First inning looked really good. I think they said his fastball was averaging 95, which coming off that injury is really, really good. And then the second inning it dipped down to like 89 or 90. So I'm not sure if there's reason for concern there. But he's going much later than Zach Wheeler in these drafts, so I think a sneaky stash at this point.
Yeah. Another high-profile name, someone that gave me headaches last year, Blake Snell. Um, I've had him a handful of times over the years. He's just an interesting character. As soon as you think you know him, you don't. He'll have a bad first half, a good second half. Last year, I used a premium pick on him, and he had the shoulder inflammation right out of the gate, and that ended up it cost him 2 months. And look, here we are again. He's on the 15-day IL. They're looking at a late May return for him. We talked about this on episode 1. The Dodgers have the luxury of being able to just handle these guys with extreme caution because, you know, they don't need Sandy Koufax out there to get that offense into the playoffs. They're obviously a bolstered roster, a good pitching staff, but Blake Snell looks like they're going to hail him with care again. Is this a guy you're staying away from?
I don't think you're ever gonna find a bigger Blake Snell detractor than me, Sean. I avoid him in mostly all formats. I think, in a 20-team league like ours, worth the stash for sure, but I think there's definitely better options available in 10 or 12-team leagues. I'm avoiding just based upon the injury risk.
Yeah. Here's a guy that we're familiar with, maybe not for good reason. Spencer Strider. We'll get into the Braves a little bit later and specifically kind of what this injury means to them. But this is a guy that has this year, this is an oblique injury. In the past, he's had an elbow injury. But I've always said that he's got way too much muscle on his body,
Yeah.
which is why he's having these soft tissue injuries. I believe he dealt with a hamstring injury in the past. Again, this is an oblique, um, and this looks like I had in my notes talking about mid to late April return. So maybe it'll be a quick one, but this is a recurring pattern from Spencer Strider. Do you think he lives up to snuff this year? He was drafted highly, especially in our league. Our friend Ron, it was at pick 39.
It was way too early, whatever it was. Yeah, no, could be the muscle, could be the tight pants, could be the fact that he's a raging liberal. I'm not sure. I'm avoiding altogether with him. I just don't. I think with the oblique, and we're going to dive into this a little bit later. You could see him on the shelf for 2 months maybe, and once he comes back, there's no telling what's going to happen. So again, I'm not very high in Spencer Strider. I wasn't really high in Spencer Strider after his breakout campaign either. He was going way too high in drafts, so I was fading him naturally, anyways. But no, he's not. I mean, he's not available in our 20-team league or anyway, so it doesn't really matter for purposes of
Would you go as far to call him a fraud?
I mean, I think he had one good year and he hasn't shown much since. So I'm going to stop short of calling him that. I need to see a little bit more, but I think that's certainly in the cards. It's within the range of outcomes, I guess, is how we'll
Alright,
put it.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Uh, we got two Reds here. If you're a Reds fan, look away.
My
Uh,
fingers hurt.
yeah, Nick Lodolo. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong here, Zom. This isn't the first time the blister has popped up for Nick Lodolo. No pun intended. 15-day IL. They are saying I read April 7th is a possibility, so it sounds like it's nothing much. But again, this is a reoccurring theme for him. A left-hander in Cincinnati. He's I do like the stuff, but that's a sandbox there. They can pound home runs. We'll see what Lodolo does, but Hunter Green, I think is a bigger deal. He was really coming into his own last year, and then two guys in a row here with dealing with the elbow, the bone spurs. We have Hunter Green as well as Spencer Schwellenbach later. But yeah, they're talking a June return for Hunter Green. I think that's a big blow to the Reds rotation. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I think Green's the bigger loss. Green was going higher in pretty much every single draft. Ladola was a nice little sleeper pick. He was on the up and coming. Um, kind of breakout players for this year in 2026. Some guy that I was targeting under the radar a little bit. Like I said, I wasn't going to reach for Green. I mean, the way Ladola pitches with the blisters, as we said, it's a reoccurring type thing. I'd never pitched, so I don't know how big of a deal that is, but I assume that you need your fingers to be a little bit tougher, a little thicker skin there. So not sure what that's going to look like once he does return, but the Hunter Green loss is obviously a big one in the NL Central here. The rotation in Cincinnati does not look good without those two guys in, so hopefully they get them back sooner rather than later.
Yeah, those are two legitimate big league pitchers, and I'm sure they'll miss them. It sounds like Liddell will be a lot sooner than Hunter Green. Talking about the elbow and the bone spurs, I know hits close to home. Double S Spencer Schwellenbach, aka Schwelly. I'll give this to you. They're talking a June return, 60-day IL.
Man, this man was on a tear last year until he went down. It was funny because I remember sitting at the beach, having a great day with my family. Left the phone in the room. Obviously, it's what you do on vacation. Made it back to my room. Checked that he went eight strong against the Phillies. I think he gave up like 2 hits, struck out 8 to 10 batters and then, got pulled at like 100 or some pitches. Awesome outing. And then right after the game, they said that they took him out as a precaution because he was dealing with some elbow fatigue, elbow injury, did an MRI, bone spurs, and done for the season. So just a really, really up and down roller coaster with emotions there for a little bit. Was bummed to see him go. Again, it's the Atlanta rotation we're going to talk about. They absolutely need him to come back, but who's to say with these elbow injuries once they do come back that they're going to be what they were before? There's no way of knowing. There just isn't. Not with these elbows injuries.
Yeah. Moving to our next player. I know this is commissioner's one of his favorite arms. I think that he's had. He's really loyal to Mr. Bryce Miller.
And Bryce Miller actually did go on the IL on Wednesday, the 25th, around 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sean.
So that just happened, hot off the press. Bryce Miller on the IL. Do you see? Is it 10, 15? Do
It's a
you
fi-
see?
it's a 15-day IL stint for now.
All right. So he's going to be out for a brief period of time. But looking at his 2024 numbers, he threw 180 innings, 2.94 ERA, 8.53 K per nine. A solid campaign. But then in 2025, dealt with some injuries, only made it to 90 innings. His ERA went way up to 5.68. What are your expectations for Bryce Miller in 2026?
Um, again, I just go back to the oblique stuff. I don't know. I know that he was going to be the number 4 or number 5 in that rotation anyways. He's obviously pitching in a great home ballpark. Um, it's in a 20-team league, he's definitely one that I'd keep my eye on. 12-team league, you can probably fade him because there's better options available.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Um, Carlos Rodon in New York. Here's a guy that is not a stranger to the injured list. This is a carryover from last year, dealing with some elbow soreness. Mid-April debut. Would you like to have Carlos Rodon on your team at all?
Yeah, sure. At the right price. I think all these conversations are within the realm of is it for the right price? Are you going to get back what you need? How long are you stashing him for? If it's mid-April, hey, that's fantastic. I think when he went to the pinstripes, he was a very effective pitcher overall. Yes, there were ups and downs, but I thought he pitched pretty well.
Yeah, no, that's a guy that's going to get you strikeouts. Good pedigree. Obviously, we'll get some easy ones in New York. That's a guy I'd like to have. Here's another one that's close to home, Mr. Jared Jones. Last year, we're familiar with the UCL injury. We thought he was going to try and gut it out and pitch last year after just resting it, and then kind of typical Bucko fashion, they later decided to go to put him under the knife and have surgery. Everything I've heard is that he's uh, progressing, earlier than the original timetable. I'm hearing a late May return. He is on the 60-day IL. Do you think we're going to see the same Jared Jones once he is back in the lineup?
I don't know. Do you think is there speculation about whether they're going to slot him into the starting rotation, or is he going to be a long relief guy? Have you heard the
Uh,
news coming out?
I think we're still far enough out that I haven't heard any chatter there. I would be shocked if they put him in the bullpen. I believe it was it was it a full tear or partial tear, or do you not know?
I don't know, but watching the Pirates every single day, I unfortunately am in the business of comparing every pitcher to Paul Skeens, and I think Paul Skeens has some of the best mechanics that you're ever going to see in the major leagues. Um, on the contrary, Jared Jones is all arm. And I think when you watch him pitch and he's gassing it all arm with his elbow extended out to the side, I just can't sit here and say that this is gonna be the last time this guy deals with an elbow injury, and that's sad to say because I think the talent's there. The guy can gas it. He's up in the triple digits. I just don't know if he's long for being a starter in this league. If they're able to figure out a place for him with, maybe 2 to 3 innings, middle relief, I think that's probably a better spot for him to start and just kinda see how the rotation does in the meantime. I don't trust him, and if we're talking fantasy, baseball purposes, I think he's one that I'm probably just avoiding.
I think that's fair. Moving along, here's another guy that is used to being on these lists. Grayson Rodriguez. He was traded out to the Angels straight up for Taylor Ward. Back to this is now a shoulder injury. They're talking late April return. I'm avoiding this guy. He when he was in Baltimore, when he is healthy, he'll strike guys out. But you can't really expect the Angels to do much this year. He's often injured. Do you feel differently there on Grayson Rodriguez?
No, highly touted prospect that so far hasn't lived up to the hype. Gonna be moving to a worse team. Wins are gonna be hard to come by. Getting him on the field is gonna be even harder to come by, in my opinion. You can get a few good starts here and there. Just as soon as you start to get optimistic about it, he'll go down with an injury. Not a huge fan of what Grayson Rodriguez brings to the table this year.
Our last pitcher here. Speaking of fans, I believe you might have owned this gentleman in the past, Ryan Pepio. Am I right?
I have owned Ryan Pepio in the past, yes.
Yes, he has found himself on the 15-day IL with some hip inflammation. Mid-April return should be a blip on the radar. Are you high on Mr. Pepio this year?
I think he's a breakout candidate this year, Sean.
All right, breakout candidate for Zumps. That was our pitchers. Moving to the hitters again, we feel this is important because a lot of times, folks will forget about these injuries and they show up. These guys will be available later, like a Garrett Cole, or on this list, Jackson Holiday. He's working his way back. But as far as the hitters, wanted to start with the two Hammett bones. These two are gonna be ready for opening day, but wanted to make note of these two gentlemen just because if they do come out slow out of the gates, and I'm talking Francisco Lindor and Corbin Carroll. They both had the Hammett bone injury in spring training, had
I
to
think
get
they
the
came out
surgery.
around the I think they came out around the same day, Sean.
E
I think it was within a day or 2, and then they said Jackson Holiday, same thing. So 3 hamate bone injuries within a span of 2 or 3 days. Crazy.
Exactly. And so to be clear, Lindor and Carroll, they are saying they're gonna be ready for opening day, but I think you could expect a sluggish start in April. What do you think there? Do you agree, disagree? What are your expectations for these two sluggers?
I'm higher on Corbin Carroll. Being a previous Corbin Carroll owner, I seen what the guy can do, and when you're talking about getting your strength zapped, we saw a power surge for Corbin Carroll last year. Not only was the guy hitting the ball out of the ballpark, he was driving the ball to those alleys, lots of doubles. I think he had 14 triples last year. If the guy gets on base, he's pretty much going to steal base and he's going to score a run for you. So I'm not even if my draft was held today. I'm keeping Corbin Carroll in the 10 to 12 range ahead of Francisco Lindor. I'm probably sliding Lindor back around 18 to 20. It has nothing to do with the injury. It more so has something to do with the age. You don't want to be caught holding the bag with some of these older guys. I think Francisco Lindor is in a fantastic lineup, a lot of run potential there. He's on a really, really good team hitting up high in the order, which is important for both of these guys. I just think the age, I don't think Corbin Carroll has met his peak yet. And I think Francisco Lindor is on the backside of his career. Two terrific players. Francisco Lindor, obviously a future Hall of Famer, in my opinion, but I am fading him a little bit later.
All right, Zums, getting back into the NL Central, the Chicago Cubs. This is a big RBI guy for them. Seiya Suzuki dealing with a knee, 10-day IL, mid-April return. Do you think this will cause any headaches for the Cubbies in April?
No, I think it's a long season, 162 games. Like you said, this guy's fairly consistent in terms of RBI production. They brought Bregman over. They're getting ready to sign Pete Crow Armstrong to a pretty massive deal. We don't know whether or not we're going to get the first half or second half PCA. Remains to be seen. Nico Horner's a nice piece. Michael Butch is a nice piece. Pitching staff is above average. They're in a average to a slightly above average division. I think if the dates are appropriate and we're talking about mid-April return, I don't think a few weeks is going to derail the Cubs.
All right. Next, Kyle Stowers, a hamstring injury, May 1 return. I believe he was their all-star last year. A lot of guys were excited about Stowers in 2026. A hamstring is a rough one. A May 1st return. So now once he's back, you got to get him all booted up and hot. Are you disappointed that Mr. Stowers is going to start on the IL?
I am. There's not much power in that lineup, and the expectations aren't very high. So, A shame to see. I thought he kind of had his coming out party in the second half of last year. I believe that he was a Jimmy Van Burry owned player. Seemingly every time I looked down at my phone, Kyle Stowers was hitting a home run in the month of August. A tough blow for them overall. Again, I don't think the expectation down there is all that high. We'll be happy to welcome him back once he's ready. But it's like you said, once that hamstring's healed up, he's gonna have to go on a rehab assignment, May 1st return, maybe mid-May. At that point, you're talking a month and a half miss. They're probably already going to be 10 games out of it at that point in time. But I think you got to get that pop back in the lineup, put some butts in the seats down there. Interesting stadium down there. I think one of the worst in the league, Sean, and they don't put anybody in those seats. I thought that the World Baseball Classic was awesome to see that place filled up, but I can't imagine being down there and in Miami. You're gonna want to be catching a Marlins game.
Well, what's crazy is like every 12 years they go to the World Series.
Yeah, no, it is, and I think they have some nice pieces down there. But I think when you're talking about power, I think he's the guy. I mean, I think Augustin Ramirez had a great first year last year. They'll be looking to him to hit some power and steal some bases, generate some runs. But you can't make a lineup with one or two guys. I mean, we're from the city of Pittsburgh, so we know it all too well. So, a shame for Kyle Stowers. Like I said, I think he was heating up, was getting hot last year. Hamstrings are tough. I think we've all probably in our heyday had a hamstring injury, and they're not fun to deal with.
25 dingers, 73 RBI for Kyle Stowers in 2025. That's what the Marlins will be missing. We mentioned Jackson Holiday with the helmet bone. He might start on a rehab assignment in AAA in Norfolk, but you can expect him to be back with the Orioles early in April. Keeping it in the AL East. This is Anthony Volpe has just become the hated Yankee in New York. Maybe it's warranted, maybe it isn't. When he out of the gate, I thought that this was someone that was obviously he's not Derek Jeter, but I thought he could play the position. And what I mean is be the Yankee shortstop, right? That's you're like the coolest guy in town when you're the shortstop of the Yankees, but it sounds like he's been a disappointment so far. A May 1st return. Are we starting to see the end of Anthony Volpe?
I mean, really, really big shoes to fill. So I'm not sure all the criticism's warranted. When you look at his Savant page, just because it's visually appealing, you can see a lot of blue on here. Expected batting average 223. That's not going to cut it. He shows decent pop. 21 home runs in 2023, 12 in 2024, and 19 in 2025. Steals a lot of bags, averaging about 23 bags per season. OPS 666. We don't like that.
No,
657 and 663. So a below average hitter at that. The gloves okay. K percentage is about one in every four at bats. He's striking out. You can't have that, especially when you're only walking 7% of the time. So, maybe warranted. Again, pretty big shoes to fill for the round one pick number 30 overall in 2019. We're rooting for the kid though. We're rooting for him.
absolutely. No, I am too. Um, Lars Nootbaar. We know that the Cardinals are punting, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They're the last pick of the NL Central. They're totally rebuilding. They got young guys everywhere, but Lars Nootbaar has been a steady fantasy option. He's on the 60-day IL. It's both of his heels. It sounds like it's going to be a wash season for Mr. Nootbaar.
Yeah, and that's a shame. Hopefully that means maybe we'll see the version of Jordan Walker that we think we were going to get for the last 2 years. Maybe he'll get some more at bats. A pathway to 500 at bats is definitely possible. I'm actually stunned when I see Lars Nootbaar's baseball savant page. There's a lot of red. Guy hits the ball really, really hard, and he does not chase bad pitches. He's on base a lot. He walks a lot. He's in the mid-teens for home runs. He can steal you a few bags here and there, but OPS is over the year 785, 769, 686. So tailed off at the end of last year, but just a steadying presence and usually an above average lineup. But like you said, Cardinals, I think everybody's picking the Cardinals to finish in the basement of the NL Central this year.
That is a lock. That is a lock. Um, I think an underrated player here, Tommy Edman, former Cardinal. has fit in beautifully with the Dodgers. He's the super utility guy, um, left-handed batter. He's got an ankle injury. They're talking a late May return. Does this mean anything to you?
No, I just think he's a guy you can plug in around the diamond on any given day, give some guys a rest. You're not gonna see much of a fall off there. It's a terrific lineup. He's a guy that you just like to have. I mean, he would fit on 29 other ball clubs. A guy that I would certainly enjoy having on my team.
He'd be nice on the Buckeyes.
I would
Um,
take Tommy Edman on the Buckeyes. I mean, so he had 27 stolen bases back in 2023, and then his running was kind of cut short, but he has been injured the last 2 years. 153 at bats in 2024, only 377 in 2025. OPS is always hovering around the 700 mark there. Obviously, there's more that goes into it than just reading these surface level stats here. Again, a lot of blue, doesn't barrel a ton, doesn't walk a whole lot either. If you're putting this guy into the lineup, you probably want to make sure he's getting on base, and he just hasn't really been doing that consistently over the last year or two. But yeah, I mean, obviously a great fit and an even better lineup.
Rounding out our hitters here, we moved to Baltimore. Seems like they just have a surplus of talent under the age of 28, 27. Here's another one. Jordan Westberg. He's this is an elbow injury for a position player. They're talking an early May return, but it seems like it's kind of up in the air. It could be sooner, could be later. Do you think Jordan Westberg will give us any value in 2026?
I do. Yeah, I do. Especially if we're seeing right now 5/1 as a return date. I think that's probably a loose in a best case scenario type date for Mr. Jordan Westberg. I think they're gonna miss him for a month at least. I think he brings a lot to the lineup. When I'm reading these articles about him, it's hard to envision him being back in a month when he's only swinging with one arm right now. I just don't. You don't typically see these kinds of injuries with hitters. So it's hard to say. I've swung a bat a bunch in my life. I've never had an elbow injury, so I can't really sit here and relate to what that's like. But it's just not an injury we see often. So I don't know. I think he's going to give you great value, especially depending upon the price. Like all these conversations are, premised by. I think he'll miss him if they can get him back on the closer to 5/1 instead of 6/1. I think there's definitely value in drafting Jordan Westberg. And again, I think it's important to kind of note here, know your league's format, know how many IL slots you have available, and know, if you're gonna draft somebody who's gonna go straight on the IL, what's your contingency plan for your next pickup when the free agents open. I think if you have 2 or 3 slots in for IL, I think he's certainly worth a stash. I think he's one of the premier third basemen in the league. What do you think?
I mean, I agree. Again, it's such a I don't want to say talented lineup in Baltimore, but they're spread out. So he kind of moves around in the lineup. I remember him 2 years ago. I think I was trying to trade for him. He was appealing. Does he have multiple position eligibility?
I think he's second and third.
Yeah. I mean, well, we were talking about elbow injury to hitters. If you remember, tail end of last year, Aaron Judge had the elbow injury where it gave everyone a scare. Was it a big deal or was it not? He might have missed 2 games and came back, but it seems like that's not the case for Westberg. Um, if I had to make a guess, he's going to be irrelevant this year.
They might be slow playing him. I mean, all the information I don't even think is released. I mean, he's running bases, fielding ground balls, but again, it's just really hard to know what that elbow injury is going to look like. That is the same between pitchers and hitters. Elbow injuries, baseball, those things just don't really jive. So
Mhm.
hard to say.
All right, so those are that's our list of notable pitchers and hitters to track as far as injuries go. So again, keep your eye on these players if they're on the waiver wire. Maybe like Zum said, maybe you want to use an IL stash on them, or maybe you just want to be prepared once they do come off. You beat everyone else to the punch. So these are some notable guys to keep your eye on. But keeping it with injuries, and we're going to segue to the Atlanta Braves. Zum, if I had to guess, are the Braves your second favorite team in baseball?
I talk about the Braves a lot. Yeah, I think we have to talk about it because It's almost as if they have a substation next to their spring training facility. I mean, maybe these guys need to go over and talk to Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle. There's something going on with these Atlanta Braves. The latest injury, obviously, being Spencer Strider. So after a dominant 2022-2023 season led to being drafted very high in the following year, he ended up having Tommy John in April of 24. He only had 2 starts in 2024. Hamstring injury in 2025, as you mentioned before, was limited to 23 starts. And then at the start of this season, he's out with an oblique. So the Braves right now, managers saying that they're hoping that it's just a few weeks. But, with these oblique injuries, there's a lot of torque when you're pitching a baseball. I'm not a doctor, Sean, but there is a
You're
12.
a horse doctor, I thought. Aren't you a horse doctor?
I am, but when we're talking about like diagnosing this guy and whether trying to figure out what he's going to be like when he comes back, it's hard to say. I don't treat liberals, so there's a 12% reoccurrence rate with oblique injury. So you're saying 1 in 8 pitchers have a reoccurring injury within the first month when they come back. Most players miss 2 to 4 weeks. Some of them miss a month. Some have missed close to 2 months. Really, really hard to say right now with this injury. So that's the bad news. Okay, that's the bad news. There is some good news, which is why, yes, I think the Braves are my second favorite team. So they have 4 guys in their lineup that I'm very high on. I am not sure that you're going to find a better 1 through 4 in the league, and that includes the LA Dodgers, and I'll tell you why. So, the lineup construction, Ronald Acuna, we have Drake Baldwin, who I think is on his way to being the best catcher in baseball. Matt Olson batting third, Austin Riley batting fourth. So just to kind of give you a high level here of some of the good that's going on in Atlanta before we get sour again on the pitching. Matt Olson has had 48 plate appearances this spring with a 976 OPS, 4 home runs. Take spring stats for what they are. They're spring stats, but you do like to see the pop with these guys. Austin Riley, 46 plate appearances, a 1.34 OPS, 5 home runs. And Drake Baldwin, there's nothing this guy doesn't do. 39 plate appearances and 998 OPS, 2 doubles, 2 triples, 2 home runs. Guy's doing it all. He's behind the dish. And then they have a guy named Ronald Acuna. Have you heard of him?
I've heard of him.
Okay. So that's the good news. I think the Braves 1 through 4 is going to be one of the best lineups in baseball. But, the point of this segment is let's talk about the bad news.
Just
Obviously.
1 second, Dom, really quick. Austin Riley. Last 2025. Let's see how many games he played in, just to be fair here. Only played in 102 games. So I remember he dealt with 1 or 2 injuries. 737 OPS. As high as he's being drafted, I'd like to see that higher. His walk to K rate in 2025 was 0.21. He's basically Starling Marte. You like this guy?
Yeah, I do. I don't think third base is really a position that is very deep either. Um, I do like him. I think last year dealing with the injuries that he dealt with, obviously you didn't get the power surge that you had become accustomed to. He is perennially in the top 40, top 50 picks of every league you see. I think people are counting on him to bounce back. I am a fan of him. I have owned him in the past. He does need to cut down on the strikeouts, but with these power guys, you're going to see a little bit of that. He's having a great spring. Can't ask for much more at this point in time. I picked the Braves to win the NL East on our first episode of Good Faith and Fastball, Sean. And not that Spencer Strider really makes a huge difference because I'm not very high on him, but it's just hard to see a path forward as to how this pitching staff is going to, get glued together. It's an island of misfit toys here. So right now, just before we dive into the pitchers, Sean Murphy is out until May. But when he comes back, due to, Jerks and Profar's idiocy, you're going to see a lot of DH and catching split between Sean Murphy and Drake Baldwin. So another power bat to that lineup to lengthen that lineup a little bit. Joey Wentz, pitcher out
Former
for the
Buckeye.
season. Hurston Waldrop out. Spencer Swillenbach, one of my favorite guys, out. Spencer Strider out, at least temporarily. Their projected rotation, Sean, I know you're very, very high on that staff anchor, Chris Sale. Do you want to go ahead and talk about Chris Sale real quick?
Yeah, I've owned Chris Sale in the past. Obviously, if you're in a bar, you're trying to sell a little Chris Sale. folks are going to talk to you about it, the injury history. Within the last 5 to 6 years, he's dealt with a shoulder, elbow, broken wrist, and then last year was he was diving for a grounder and broke his rib. But the year before that, he was the Cy Young winner in the NL. We were talking about his teammate Spencer Strider, and I said, he's got all that muscle on him. Yeah, he's gonna pull a hamstring. Yeah, he's gonna, tweak an oblique. Someone that has nearly no muscle on them, Chris Sale, and can still crank it up to 97. I'm in 3 leagues. I drafted him last night. I think I think you can expect big things for him. We know he's chasing 3,000 strikeouts. I don't have it actually, I do have it in front of me. Stand by. Are you standing?
I'm standing. Oh, no, I'm not standing. Everybody can see that I'm not standing.
You're sitting, but you're standing by in theory. 2,579 career strikeouts. So let's say you get
421.
sorry.
He's off by 421. That's 2 above average
Yeah.
seasons of strikeouts and health.
And he's 36 years old. He turns 37 on March 30th, so in just a few days. So age 37 and 38. What'd you say was the gap?
421 strikeouts if my math serves.
So, if let's just say he goes 2 more years, it's got to be
Needs
he's going to have
210 a
to
year.
probably go three. He's probably going to have to go three to make it. You got to figure he's going to go on the IL once over the next 2 years. So I think he's probably banking on three. That would bring him to age 39, which is Verlander, I believe, he might be 40 or 41. So you can't count Sale out. He's left-handed. The delivery is extremely deceptive. Slider is nasty. Heater again. That's he's going to touch 97. He's a fiery competitor. He's going to get cheap, easy wins with that Braves lineup. Chris Sale, this guy's, I believe he's headed to the Hall of Fame.
I think he's the only guy in the starting rotation right now that you can actually count on and, kind of plant your flag at this point. I'm gonna run through the rest of the projections here very, very quickly. I have some notes here, things I'd like to talk through. So number 2 projected starter is Reynaldo Lopez. In his most recent start, Sean, do you want to guess what his fastball averaged?
Reynaldo Lopez, former White Sox, which I believe back then he was throwing like 98. I'm gonna guess it's a little lower. I'm gonna say like 94.
He was throwing 89.4 on his fastball. Um,
Is that
reporters caught
exactly
up with him
right?
after the game, asked him 89.4 was the number. Um, so not great. After
It's not good.
reporters co No, after reporters caught up with him in the locker room, they said he's doing a mechanical tweak. Now, I don't know if mechanical tweak is code talk for something else, but he said the exact same thing last year. Um, and he went down for the season with a right shoulder inflammation and arthroscopic surgery, I think after 2 starts. So remains to be seen. Reynaldo Lopez, not really quite sure what we're gonna get from him there. Grant Holmes, man, what a haircut on that guy. Um,
He kind
he
of looks
was
like you.
he's a stud. Yeah, he's a stud. I've owned him. I liked him after coming off his, relieving season where he was actually starting games last year. He had a partially torn UCL last year. He was only limited to 21 starts, but electric in 2024. High Ks per 9, but not a guy you can count on for
Huh.
health. He's never really thrown a ton of innings in the league. Number 4 starter, Bryce Elder. He's like one of the only guys who was fairly healthy last year for the stretch of the entire season. He had a ERA of 5.3 though, so not ideal and not a high strikeout guy, 7.5 over 9. Not something you like to see there. Ball gets put in play a lot. Jose Suarez is your number 5. He made 1 start last year. He appeared in 7 games, low K per 9, high walks. He averages 5 walks per 9 innings. Expected ERA of 4.2. So those are your tentative 5 starters right now. There's this dude out here named Didier Fuentes. Spring training, this is before the Pirates start that he made the other day. 27 hitters faced, 26 retired, 17 strikeouts, one hit by pitch. According to Mark Bowman from MLB.com, he will get some innings out of the pen early with the Braves, but then they're going to send him back down to AAA. Not something you like to see, but just kind of glancing at our league overall, he was, just to show you and so people understand kind of the levity of the situation for our league. He was picked up 8 days ago on March 17th before he even started blowing up and the name was
Do
becoming mainstream. So you can't get him in our league.
you know what his ERA in spring training is?
It's zero. He gave up one earned run to the Pirates yesterday.
Yeah, 0.66
Yeah.
K per nine, 11.85, and he is only 20 years old. He turns 21 in June. He can finally have a beer. Um, Again, like Sums mentioned, they did announce that he should start out of the bullpen. I just wonder how long it's going to be until he finds himself in that rotation. What do you think?
It's God, it's hard to say. I mean, probably not long. When you're talking 89-mile-an-hour fastballs from Reynaldo Lopez, and you're talking about Grant Holmes with the UCL. My God, they could be a sneeze away from landing on the IL, Sean. So
A
I think
wise
he's
man once said that.
yeah, I think he's a stash guy. I think you're going to hear his name a lot more. 27 batters faced, 17 Ks before that last start against the Pirates. Those are just unreal numbers. But the question, I guess, now becomes, where do we pivot here? What are the options that are out there? I know you see some names float around. Lucas Giolito's out there. Patrick Corbin's out there. I don't know. Don't love either of those guys. Let's talk about Lucas Giolito though. Last year, so 26 games with the Red Sox, very efficient. Sean, 145 innings, 3.4 ERA. His baseball savant page, which I subscribe to, very
Sums
very
loves the visuals. He's a
ve-
pictures guy.
very blue. Very, very blue. Not something we like to see. Could we nurse this guy back to health? Could he become a horse? Probably not. We're probably past the horse phase of his life. He's probably on the back nine at this point in time. But, last year, expected ERA 5.06, not very sexy. Kind of masks that 3.41 that everybody latches onto. Expected batting average 265. That's high. Whiff percentage is very low, 28th percentile. Walk rate is 9.1. So he's walking 1 in 10 guys. That's about, 3 a game on average. He's starting almost 1,200 innings in his career. I just don't know how much he has left, Sean. So that name is out there. He's still unsigned as of the time of this filming. Patrick Corbin is another name that exists out there right now.
A
The only re-
crafty veteran left-hander.
the only reason that I like him is he is somebody who will take the ball every 5 days and he'll eat innings. And I think what the Braves need right now more than anything is to eat innings. I think they need to get somebody in that rotation that is able to give you 5 innings at a time and turn it over to the bullpen, keep you in the game, keep you competitive. He pitched a little bit better last year than he did with the Nationals the year before that. But the name that I want to throw out to you, Sean, and I think I think you're going to have a strong opinion on this. So Luis Heel, okay, we're talking starting pitcher for the New York Yankees, had a phenomenal 2024 season, breakout season in 2024, 2025, down with an injury. Most recently on the 20th, so 5 days ago, he threw 5 scoreless innings with 7 strikeouts against the Orioles. Most of the regulars were in the lineup. I didn't see Gunnar Henderson in the lineup there, but I saw a lot of their other regulars in the lineup. He fastball peaked at 98.8 miles per hour. Excuse me on that one. Fastball peaked at 98.8, and then as soon as the game was over, they demoted him to AAA. I think that there is an absolute logjam with the New York Yankees when you're talking about Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon on the IL, both guys slated to return in the first 2 months of the season. That's going to bump Heel down even farther. Is Luis Heel possibly a trade candidate?
No, I think they'll hang on to him. I'm looking at his fan graphs now. Like you said, 2024, 151 innings. He did get 15 wins. That was a team that went to the World Series and lost to the Dodgers. 3.5 ERA, but you know me, I'm an xFIP guy. His xFIP was 4.36. And then when you go over to his BABIP, He had some good luck in 2024. His BABIP was .237. So if you just he's been dealing with injuries because 2023 it was a blank year for him. 2022 he only threw 4 innings. Starting to think this might be a trend for Mr. Heel. So who knows what his trade value even is. Last year, he came up towards the end of the year. He started 11 games. K per nine went way down to 6.47. ERA was fine, 3.32, but the xFIP 5.65. So that he seems like he's a little inconsistent. I imagine they're going to hang on to him, but I don't know. I mean, he's someone to keep your eye on just because of that K per nine in his past. But I don't know. It seems like there's trouble ahead for Heel.
So needless to say, we don't really know what's going to happen with the Braves. I think it's a very intriguing storyline. I think they kind of have to weather the storm early on. Otherwise, that season could be over before it even begins up in Atlanta, which is an absolute shame because that would be year two in a row. When you have that kind of talent, you have generational players. Offensively, you'd like to see them put it all together, get their health back, but it just does not look like it's trending in the right direction right now.
Yeah.
The Braves start with Kansas City for 3. They have 3 against, the Athletics, 4 against Arizona, 3 against the Angels, 3 against Cleveland, 3 against Miami, 3 against Philly. So kind of a middle of the road, strength of schedule there early on. I will be curious to see how they fare against Philly in that first series, because them and the Mets are gonna be the 2 teams that they're chasing down, I think, probably all year.
All right, Zums. Enough with the Braves, but we're gonna stick in the NL and another the favorite, Los Angeles Dodgers. They're dealing with a little bit of headache with one of their prized possessions, not Shohei Otani, Mr. Roki Sasaki, 24-year-old right-hander from Japan. He was highly anticipated when he joined the Dodgers last year. Folks were hoping that he was going to perform last year. Ultimately, never really happened. It seemed like he did kind of come into form during the postseason. I believe they were using him out of the bullpen, and he looked decent. But man, this spring he's like completely clueless, not able to get guys out. Are you worried about Roki Sasaki?
Oh my god, I think the panic meter is dialed up right now. I mean, like you said, I don't think you're understating. He was the prized possession coming out of the MPB. He posted 4 consecutive years of 2.35 ERA and average 11 Ks per nine. I think it's crazy whenever because there was a lot of speculation when he was coming over who he was going to sign with, and the whole thing surrounding him was he seemed very mentally fragile from the beginning, in my opinion. He was saying he didn't necessarily want to go where the lights shine the brightest. They were thinking maybe smaller payroll team where there's not huge TV deals is going to be better for him. Ended up going to LA. My goodness. So, while I think that does help a young pitcher with run support, I don't think all eyes being on him out there has really benefited him, at least early on. Last year, he appeared in 10 games. He started 8 of them. His Ks per nine went from over 11 in the MPB to under 7 here in the majors. Obviously, a far superior league here in the MLB. But the number that stuns me is the walks were around 5.5 per 9 innings. He gives up 1.5 home runs per 9. ERA was 4.46, but his expected ERA was 5.67. He does not get a lot of chases. He doesn't get a lot of whiffs, low ground ball percentage. He is right now slated to be the number 4 in that rotation. In his final start on Monday, so 2 days ago, he went zero point zero innings, gave up 5 earned, walked 6, and struck out 2 over 66 pitches. I mean, that stat line is dreadful, Sean. I don't know where we go from here, to be honest with you. He was drafted 195th in our league, which at the time, I don't know, maybe appropriate. Maybe this guy will figure it out. But his spring training stats: 8.2 innings pitched, a 14.5 ERA, 12 strikeouts, 14 walks. Sean, is this guy too far gone?
So I'm reading a quote right here from 32426. Dodgers manager Dave Roberts recommitted to Sasaki as a member of the team's rotation after another poor outing from the pitcher Monday against the Angels. The fact that Dave Roberts is sticking with him gives me a little bit of hope. In my dynasty league, we actually we kept Roki Sasaki this year, so I'm still hopeful. The only thing that he has going for him is he's young. He's 24 years old. Doesn't turn 25 until November. He's 6'2", but only 187. Like you mentioned, in Japan, he was pretty much lights out, striking guys out. Is that, you know, in 2023, his xFIP was 0.92, his ERA was 1.78, K per nine 13.35. So, granted, it's the it's not the MLB, but we've seen plenty of Japanese players come over and not skip a beat. It's not happening for him right now. But the fact that Roberts is who I believe has the easiest job in the world, Dave Roberts. Who do you want to who do you what lineup you want to put in today? How do you want to
Yeah.
win by 10 runs today?
It's an
Uh,
embarrassment of riches. It really
it
is.
it really is, and we can talk about that later about the collective bargaining for 2027 and maybe a lockout. But back to Sasaki, you got to wait him out. If Roberts is sticking with him, I think you got to stick with him until there's literally no hope. He's too young and he was too touted to quit now, especially when we're just talking about spring training. But it's certainly the alarm bells are going off a little bit.
Yeah, our golf, between you and I and our opinions on that has never been further apart. Happy trails to Mr. Dylan Cruz. We salute you. The number 2 overall pick in the 2023 draft, demoted. I remember Dylan Cruz coming out in the Paul Skeens draft saying that he didn't want to go to a poverty franchise in the Pittsburgh Pirates. Well, pal, listen, you're on a franchise that I would argue is more poverty stricken than the Pirates, and you're not even on the big league club. I'd love to say that we're rooting for you, but I am not.
I remember obviously vividly the 2023 draft because the Buccos had the first overall pick, and I was torn at the beginning. What's funny is Cruz and Skeens college teammates at LSU, and it was close right up until the draft. But I feel like that week leading up, it started to get clear that Skeens was the smart pick, and I was pumped, thrilled that he was the guy.
Thank,
Could you imagine?
thank God, thank God, Ben Jerrington had a little bit of sense there. I mean, I guess the argument there, and I'm just going to leave it at this, so that we can kind of go to this next guy. Do you want a guy who plays 6 days a week or a guy that pitches once every 5 days? My answer on the surface would have been I didn't want Dylan Cruz necessarily because I was sitting again. I watched the College World Series. It always aligns with when I'm at the beach, sitting down in the evening. Kids go to bed. I throw on, the LSU championship run. I'm watching Paul Skeens just absolutely go deep into games, throw 110, 120 pitches in a game. I'm like, my God, is this the guy the Pirates are going to get first overall? And I was sold as soon as I saw him pitch. I said, I don't care if he pitches once every 5 days. This is the generational talent. This is a guy I want on my team. Glad they made the right move. And again, Dylan Cruz, couldn't be happier for you, pal. Um, Let's talk PCA extension up in Chicago. PCA, I think, Sean, a fairly polarizing figure. The tale of 2 seasons last year, really. Was his 2025 first half or his second half the more legit kind of the real version of PCA? They're talking about an extension of over $100 million for this guy who really only had half of a good season. Yeah, he was part of the 30-30 club. Yes, that's a high honor. He won a Gold Glove in center field. That's great. Has blazing speed. But let me just break down real quick the first half versus the second half, and you tell me which version you think we're closer to getting, because I'm always under the impression you should be signing a guy for what you're going to get and not what you've already got. So first half stats, he batted 272, 25 home runs, 27 stolen bases, an OPS of 847. Fantastic first half of the season, pre-All-Star break. Second half of the season, batting average 216, 6 home runs, 8 stolen bases, an OPS of 634. Sean, what version of PCA are we getting?
I think the second half version is going to be more realistic on what you can expect from Mr. Pete Crow Armstrong. For those at home that might not be familiar with Mr. PCA, if you remember Zums when he was coming up, from the minors and getting promoted. Um, the tag that he got was he was a plus center fielder as far as defense goes.
Mhm.
So, when these guys are getting the call and it's their big day, and when they're talking about defense for an outfielder, that tells me, all right, this guy is not a slugger. It's a nice way of saying, yeah, he might hit for contact and swipe a few bags, which, as you mentioned, he will swipe bases, and he did stayed pretty healthy last year. Played in 157 games. He did swipe 35 bags. I'm an OPS guy. It tallied out at the end of the year at 768. That's a little above
It's
league average, and
league average, yeah.
he's going high in drafts, really
Yeah.
high in drafts. I would avoid him. I'm all, the hitters, the first thing I'm looking for is can they hit it over the fence? It's the hardest thing to do. It's the premium stat. Um,
He had 31 home runs last year. That's one
he
stat
did
that
that
that's one stat that
surprises me. I
yeah.
think that's amazing. He was able to rack up 31 dingers, 91 runs, 95 RBIs, but only managed to get a 768 OPS. That tells me,
That
here it
tells
is.
you.
This is why
Yep.
Fangraphs
Say
is
it.
the best.
Say it.
He he's not walking. His base on ball per strikeout is 0.19. He doesn't walk. So I mean, I
So
this
Sean,
is
to
one of
break
my
so
least favorite players in
Sean,
the game.
to break that down for the viewers here, 0.19 basically says that he strikes out 5 times for every walk that he gets, yes?
That's exactly right.
Okay, not good.
I, I love the walk because if like a Joey Votto, or Carlos Santana back in the day when he was with the Cleveland Indians, Juan Soto now, the guys that I don't want to necessarily say that hunt the walk, but the guys that are cool with the walk and enjoy taking their free pass, that goes so far as their approach because it changes the way that the pitcher will pitch to you. I brought up Starling Marte earlier. He was going to swing at anything that was within like 5 to 6 inches of the strike zone. If it was close, Marte was swinging, which worked for him. But he hardly ever walked, so you'd see that OPS kind of floating around like just like Pete Crow Armstrong, 770, 780 was where Starmar was kind of topping out. When with this high of a pick where he's definitely going in the top 60, maybe even the top 50. Um, you want to see that OPS flirting with 900, definitely over 8. The 768 is what it was last year. You mentioned it was a tale of two halves. He loses Kyle Tucker. I think it's not a scintillating season for Pete Crow Armstrong.
I think he's going off the board around pick 30 to 33 in most drafts that I've seen. That's a little bit too rich for my blood. I think that we're both out on PCA this year, like you said. Dude chases a lot of bad pitches, strikes out a lot, doesn't walk a lot of blue on his page. I think we're both out there. All right, the last guy I want to talk through is Chase DeLauder. He is the right fielder for the Cleveland Guardians. He is currently slated to bat sixth in that lineup. Not a very strong lineup, like we mentioned on episode number 1. Um, but I'm starting to become more interested here. A lot of hype on the X machine lately, Sean. Last year in the minors, OPS 854. He had a 15.5% strikeout rate. So you're talking about 1 in every 7 at bats he was striking out. That's better than league average. 14.2% walk rate almost mirrors that strikeout rate. We'd love to see that just based upon the conversation we just had. This spring, he has a blazing 1.38 OPS. 9.3% strikeout rate. So he's cut down on that at the big league level. Sure, it's against spring training pitching, but his walk rate has stayed consistent at 14%. Can he extend this Guardians lineup that outside of Jose Ramirez, we don't really know how proven they really are?
Yeah, I mean, Zums, I wish I knew a ton about this gentleman. I can't say that I do, or I'd be lying to you. I'm looking at him now. First round pick, 16 overall. There's no way you'd guess where he went to college. James Madison University.
Um,
Did pick up a $3.75 million signing bonus coming out of college. So I'm sure the Cleveland Indians, aka Guardians, are excited about him. But since you brought him up, I will never forget him.
He is free in 12-team draft, so, I think a guy that is probably gonna be getting some consideration for AL Rookie of the Year, kinda came on a little bit later, after our first episode, kinda got hot right after that, but I would look for his name to be moving up those, AL Rookie of the Year polls at the end of the season. So that's the list of guys that I think are, kind of floating around in the news right now. And I know kind of like we previewed a little bit earlier, we need to talk about young guys that we need to start looking into. Some guys that broke camp with the big league club. And Sean, I think you're going to go to one of your favorite guys to start off here, Mr. Kevin McGonigal.
That's absolutely right. Not to be confused with the Harry Potter, Mrs. McGonagall, professor. This is Kevin McGonigal, listed as a shortstop, but he's going to be playing third base for the Detroit Tigers. Big news the other day. He did make the big league roster out of camp. He is the AL Rookie of the Year favorite at 4-1. In 2025, he was in single A, double A, OPS 991, 19 dingers, swiped 10 bags. He's going to go ahead and skip triple A right to the show. This is a loaded Tigers lineup. He's my pick for AL Rookie of the Year and coming out of Detroit. What do you think, Zums? You big on
Yeah,
McGonagall?
I am because I think they're going to insulate him a little bit. I think, what I'm looking at right now, he's going to be batting sixth in that lineup. So not a whole lot of pressure on the young man coming up. They're showing a projection of 762 for OPS, which is, right around league average. I suspect that he'll go a little bit higher than that. He walks 10% of the time. He strikes out 14% of the time. I think that those are great ratios there. Looking forward to what he can bring.
Yeah. Moving along, the Yinzer Mountaineer, Mr. J.J. Weatherholt. He is the number 5 overall prospect in baseball. He's a natural shortstop, and he'll be playing second base for the Cardinals. They're slotting him in at the leadoff spot from what I can see right now. He's my pick to win NL Rookie of the Year. Got to support my Mountaineers. In 2025, between Double A and Triple A, there's that 931 OPS. That's what you want to see, north of 900 for these big prospects. 17 dingers, 23 swipes. A bad Cardinal team, but he's going to get he's going to be up to the show all season long. I expect him to be in that lineup. As long as he's healthy, he's my pick for NL Rookie of the Year.
I think the path is pretty clear to 500 at bats here. I think like we alluded to early on, they're projecting right now 588 at bats for 2026, which is pretty much like you said, an everyday player. He walks about 10% of the time, strikes out 17% of the time. He might struggle early. Most rookies do when they come up, but he's batting in front of Mason Wynn, Alec Burleson, and one of my favorite picks of the year, Ivan Herrera. So I think there will be potential for scoring runs there. Again, I don't suspect with the pitching staff that they'd assemble over there in St. Louis that they're going to be a good team, but I can certainly see J.J. Weatherholt, like I said, kind of shooting up those NL Rookie of the Year polls at the end of the season. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised to see him there.
Another big name here, the NL Rookie of the Year favorite at 2.75 to 1 plus 275. Mr. Nolan McLean from the New York Mets. We got to look at him in the World Baseball Classic. He also got the call last year. He threw 48 innings. He managed to keep his ERA at 2.06. XFIP was 2.78, so it wasn't phony at all. The K per nine was 10.69. Like I mentioned, I did get a look at him in the World Baseball Classic. The break on his breaking ball is massive, like a big bender. But I've seen him here and there. I don't have him on any of my teams, but it seems like the consensus is this guy's a stud. Are you expecting huge things from McLean in 2026?
I am. I love the 1-2 punch that they've assembled with the Mets this year. I'm a huge fan of Freddie Peralta. And, speaking of that curveball, he throws it about 16% of the time. So uses it fairly often. Last year, he had a 2.06 ERA, although the underlying metrics weren't as kind to him. xERA, 3.53. His strikeout percentage, over 30%. That is a huge number. But if he's not striking guys out, he's probably getting you to ground out because he's in the 98th percentile at a 60.2% ground ball rate as well. Things that you love to see. If you're not K'ing guys, put the ball on the ground, let your guys make a play. Love what Nolan McLean's going to bring this year.
Here's one that's close to home and personal. Mr. Bubba Chandler. Zums, you remember last year I drafted Bubba Chandler on draft day. This is a nightmare.
Yeah,
I drafted him on draft day, kept him basically the entire season, and then I drop him, and the very next day he gets the call.
yeah.
And G-Reg puts a $110 bid on him while he was about 15 games below 500, but who's counting? Um, I think Bubba is first of all, I think you got to acknowledge that he's just an incredible athlete. Coming out of high school, he was heavily recruited by Dabo Sweeney to go to Clemson to play quarterback and pitch. So he's just a phenomenal athlete. But last year, you wanted to see more from him. Especially from the AAA performance, wasn't great. 4.05 ERA, 1.48 WHIP. So he really, really was struggling with the walks. There was some games where he had, 5, 6 walks. The K per nine though is pretty elite, 10.89. When he did get the call last year to the Buccos, he was coming out of the bullpen, and he came out of the gates rocking it and really looked the part. He looked like he belongs. Now he's gonna get that coveted spot in the rotation. I think he has a huge role in the success or lack thereof for the Pirates in 2026. But I'm expecting him to convert and be the guy we need him to be. What say you?
I'll keep it short. The walks concern me. I think the stuff is electric. I know he spent the offseason with Paul Skeens. I'm not sure how much stock I put into that, but it certainly can't hurt, right?
I agree.
I think when you see that 1.48 whip, that is danger territory. He needs to get that fastball under control, has to throw for strikes. Again, just the control with him. I think his stuff's good enough that, I'm not saying let them hit it, but just put the ball in the zone. Put the ball in the zone, guys are gonna swing and miss. So I do like Bubba Chandler. I just don't I'm not as high on him as others. I like guys in that staff a little bit more like Braxton Ashcraft. Especially when talking fantasy in terms of the price. Bubba Chandler, his price was a little bit inflated this year. There's a lot of people all over him this year. I just don't know what we're gonna get. I haven't seen enough yet to really form a very strong opinion on him.
Who has a better Major League Baseball career, Bubba Chandler or Hunter Barco?
Bubba Chandler.
Here's a name I'm seeing a ton. We talk about the X machine. I think I spend about 10 to 12 hours on that thing a day.
Same.
And the name I'm seeing a ton is Samuel Basallo down
Stud.
in Baltimore. The
Stud.
Orioles, yeah. The Orioles are a team that I'm high on. I think the addition of Pete Alonso is going to work wonders, especially for my one of my favorite players, Gunnar Henderson. That's going to help him a lot. But Basallo, he's a natural catcher, but he's going to be DHing, batting sixth, 12-1 for the AL Rookie of the Year. In 2025, spent entirely in AAA, 966 OPS. There it is, north of 900, 19 dingers, 0 swipes, which is as expected. But I think he's going to produce in a major way for the Orioles and be a valuable player in fantasy this year.
Uh, I agree, and I think more so it's the team that he's on. I just trust what the Baltimore Orioles do with their prospects, and I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Shout out Kobe Mayo. Added him a few days ago. Highly touted prospect. I'm rooting for you, Kobe. Um, Trey, sorry, moving back. Connor Griffin. Connor Griffin, uh, obviously with the Pittsburgh Pirates, shortstop, did number one prospect in baseball. Did not make the Buccos team out of camp. Somewhat surprising. I was kind of hoping for the contract extension and then a spot in the lineup. Ultimately, it's not what we got. What do you think, Sum? Are they trying to play the player controlled arbitration game with Connor
N
Griffin? What do you think their plan is?
no, so I think they are gonna sign him. I think that there's definitely smoke to those conversations here. Personally speaking, I know it's probably not a popular opinion. I think they did the right thing. Again, I know that not many people probably feel that same way. I think, you wanna try to maximize the time with Connor Griffin and Paul Skeens as much as possible. I just, when the kid hit, in spring training, he obviously made noise. There was a lot of impact there. There's been a lot of chatter around Connor Griffin, just the way that he conducts himself. He's going to be a mainstay here, hopefully for 8 to 10 years. I hope that deal gets talked through and figured out, and then they bring him up. But
You
right
guys, like,
now, too many holes. I think in the swings that I saw. I think that like any young hitter, that these pitchers are going to find ways to exploit it. And I just think giving him some pretty regular at bats down there in Triple A at least to start the season was probably the more beneficial move for him as a developing prospect. I would love to see him here on opening day. Obviously, I think that atmosphere is going to be electric anyways. But just think about the extra kind of noise of that crowd when Connor Griffin steps up for the first time.
yeah, he's 3-1 to win NL Rookie of the Year. In 2025, single A and double A, 941 OPS, 21 dingers, zums. I could not believe this when I saw it. You want to take a guess how many stolen bases Connor Griffin had in 2025?
Oh, I mean, he runs like a racehorse, man.
I'll
I
give you a clue. It's more than you think.
I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say 59.
65.
65. Wow.
So
I
maybe he
mean,
is the best prospect in baseball.
that's pretty it's a pretty elite combination here. Power and speed. I'd love to see if that translates at the next level. I pray as a Pirates fan that it does.
I'm going to say this on record: Mike Trout. That's all I'm saying.
Without
Trey
the
Yesavage.
without the injury history, Sean, please.
Well, I still love Trout, man. Yeah, yeah. Lately, he's had the injury history, but my God, you could he was slotted in as the first overall pick like 6 years in a row. It is a shame that
They were
Trout
scouting his
had.
little league games.
Yeah, from Milford, New Jersey. Fun fact: huge weather guy, Mike Trout. Big into the weather. Look it up. Fact check me. If he was not a outfielder for for the Anaheim Angels, now Los Angeles Angels, he would have been a weatherman. You can fact check me on that. All right, the next guy, Trey Yesavage, the Toronto Blue Jays starting pitcher. He's the number 12 prospect in baseball. He will start the season on the IL, looking like a mid to late April debut. He's 7-1 to win the AL Rookie of the Year. Looking back at his 2025 campaign, he made 3 stops: single A, double A, triple A, 3.12 ERA, 0.97 WHIP. 10.29 K per nine. It seems like he's highly touted. A lot of folks are excited about him. The number 12 prospect in baseball. Is Trey Yesavage going to be an asset in 2026?
I don't know. It depends. Obviously, like all these other guys we talked about in terms of injuries. The thing that makes me nervous, I know that they kind of put the flame out and said this isn't true, but when I hear innings limitations, I don't know. I think it's like anything else. If you can get 140 innings out of a guy and you take him, at a value pick, sure, absolutely, why not? But I don't know. I think the sample size is too small on him to really be able to form a very strong opinion on. I think he was fairly electric last year. I think he got a lot of run there in the postseason. But he was definitely a sleeper on my list this year. But obviously he got gobbled up before I could get to him. So just wasn't willing to take him that early.
The next guy, Carson Benj, outfielder for the New York Mets, number 16 overall prospect, a right fielder batting eighth on that loaded Mets lineup. He's 15-1 for NL Rookie of the Year. Taking a look at his 2025 campaign, which again also across single A, double A, triple A, 857 OPS, 15 dingers. He will swipe a few bags. He had 22 swipes. I'm looking at our draft, which is funny. So Bo took him 275th overall, which is only the 14th round for us, but 275th overall. But this is a name that's popping up a lot as kind of a sleeper pick that's gonna, with a high ceiling. Are you excited about Carson Benj?
I don't know. I think there's a lot of really good prospects on this list. He's not one that excites me too much. Shout out to the Bowden Retriever. Obviously, a lot of respect to Kamish. I just think he's kind of going to get lost in that lineup. But again, he's in a good lineup. He's going to be insulated. A lot of take some of the pressure off the young man. Hey, we're hoping for big things from Carson Bench. Good story for him.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you these next two because I know they're a couple of your personal favorites. First, Carter Jensen, the Royals catcher, 18th overall prospect. Tell me about him.
Just hits a lot of bombs, Sean. Big time power guy. Last year, in Double A and Triple A, 878 OPS, 20 home runs, 10 stolen bases. So he is one of those rare catchers that is going to steal some bags for you. He's going to be hitting in a fairly advantageous spot in a fairly, I think, deep Kansas City Royal lineup. He's the number 18 overall prospect. He's right now plus 550 to win AL Rookie of the Year, and he was actually my pick for AL Rookie of the Year for 2026. So I'm expecting big things from Jensen.
And I think he should be able to get slotted into DH here and there. With Salvi Perez being the old veteran catcher in Kansas City, he's getting up there in age. So obviously Jensen is the catcher of the future. But I think you can expect Jensen to get a few starts at designated hitter, which is always a good thing, especially on a potent Royals lineup. Next, Saul Stewart.
I love Sal Stewart. I drafted Sal Stewart actually very, very late in our draft, Sean. While I'm talking here, you can pull exactly where he was drafted at in our 20-team league. I think anytime you talk about, a prospect coming up, you want to look at lineup placement. So right now, per Fangraphs, he is projected to hit fourth. So TJ Friedel leading off up there, Matt McClain, who has had a torrid spring, Ellie De La Cruz batting third, and he is right in front of Eugenio Suarez. So you have to figure if Sal Stewart's on base, Eugenio Suarez is going to hit at least 40 to 45 home runs this year. That's going to be a
You
lot
hope,
of.
you hope, you hope.
Because I also have Eugenio Suarez as well. So
That's
yes,
right.
I have two boppers in the middle of the Reds lineup playing half of their games at, Great American Small Park. So no, I think overall we're excited about him. I think the reports coming out of camp is, he's ready. The moment's not too big for him. He was drafted in the first round, 32nd overall, 2022. They're projecting a 782 OPS. The walk rate 8%, doesn't walk a whole heck of a lot, strikes out one every 5 times. So numbers that I don't necessarily love there with those ratios, but I love the lineup slot for Sal Stewart.
Yeah. Zum's mentioned it's his pick for NL Rookie of the Year. He's plus 650, so decent value there. All right, Zums. Talking about Didier Fuentes for the second time in the pod. Who had that on their bingo card? Um, I'm a fan of this young gentleman. He's only 20 years old, as we mentioned. I owned him last year for the brief amount of time that he was up in the show. He only pitched 13 innings. And the outcome was the results were not good. 13.85 ERA. The xFIP was 5.74, K per nine 8.31. So we won't focus on the bad there. Again, that was only 13 innings. But the track record is there. Last year, we talked about on the first episode, ERA isn't always the best indicator of a pitcher's success. So just looking at his 2025 campaign, which was across single A, double A, triple A, 11.21 K per nine. That's great. Would you agree, Zom?
I would agree.
Yeah, and the ERA 4.58. But again, that can be bloated sometimes. You look at his xFIP, it was 3.21. So maybe he's somewhere in between. He's 30-1 to win NL Rookie of the Year, so great value there. We at the top of the show we talked about the injury problems that the Atlanta Braves currently have. So an opportunity could present itself to Didier Fuentes sooner than later. You buying this at all?
I am. I would have bought it in our league as well, but I was late to the party. So, Didier Fuentes really caught steam here in the last week, but unfortunately, he was picked up by Mr. James Serio, drop a pin, on the 17th of March. So, about 8 days late. I think I went and looked on the 20th, and I didn't like what I saw. So that's
Yeah,
he who fails to prepare, prepares to fail, whatever the saying is.
we know what you meant.
Yeah.
And we talked about this earlier. The spring training was phenomenal. ERA 0.66, xFIP 2.55. The K per nine was nearly 12. Um, no doubt about it. This guy is going to have a successful big league career. He's only 20 years old. And then rounding out the list, um, this gentleman's a little different than the prior names we've been rattling off. Mick Abel. Um, so this was the 15th overall pick in 2020 with the Philadelphia Phillies. This spring training, he did win a spot in the Twins rotation as the fifth starter. So I think this is a really low risk, potentially high reward pickup. So he did get the call last year to the with the Phillies. It did not go well. 6.23 ERA, 4.34 xFIP, but he does have good stuff. The K per nine was 9 flat. But in 2025 in AAA, he was sparkling. 2.20 ERA, 1.11 WHIP, and then 10.43 K per nine. So I love to chase pedigree. He has it. Maybe a change of scenery does him well, but he's the fifth starter in the Twins rotation. You think you're going to get anything out of Mick Abel this year?
I think in a 20-team league, he's absolutely worth a flyer, and he is rostered. So, I think he overcame the first hurdle, and that was, winning a spot. I think if Pablo Lopez is healthy, maybe he gets squeezed. That being said, he is there, and if he stays healthy, he's going to be on the pathway to 30 plus starts. So I think certainly in terms of volume, he'll be eating innings up. Hopefully, the Ks per nine kind of tick up a little bit, and he can kind of regain some of the 2025 AAA stats.
Awesome. So that is our list of young guys to roster. That is the best of the best, the top prospects that are going to make an impact in 2026. So keep your eye out for those lists of names, whether they're going to start in the bigs right away or make an impact later on. Great list there. All right, Zums, this next segment, we want to take a look at a handful of players that we are bullish on. Some guys that we think might be overlooked, drafted too low. And ultimately, at the end of the year, we think these guys can make a difference as far as winning a fantasy baseball championship. The gentleman I want to start with is Mr. Ryan Nelson, the starting pitcher for the Arizona Diamondbacks. I'm an MLB TV subscription holder, proudly so. And Nelson's out in Arizona, it's out on the West Coast. And when I put my head to rest at night, I like to end the night with a little fantasy baseball action for my pitchers. And I watched a ton last year of Ryan Nelson. I really liked what I saw. He didn't start the year in the rotation, but once he got in there, he never left. He did total 154 innings, 3.93 ERA, 1.07 WHIP, and nearly an 8 K per nine. But that's not what I want to focus on. What I want to focus on is this spring training. He has been lights out. Now, granted, it's only been 17 innings, but just the fact that he is kind of doubling down on the success he showed last year and into spring training, and those numbers look like this in 17 innings, 3.18 ERA. The xFIP checks out at 2.47, and what I love to see is the K per nine, 12.18. So I think you can expect Ryan Nelson to build upon what he did last year, and he is a sneaky pick for top 30, maybe even the top 25 starting pitcher. Should get some wins with a decent Diamondbacks roster. The next gentleman is someone that personally was one of my favorites. Back in 2024, I drafted him fairly high in the fourth round. I was in 2023 showed a lot of promise, and I was expecting some big things in 2024. Ultimately, that didn't happen. He tore his labrum, so that season was a wash. Last year in 2025 wasn't great. Only a 643 OPS. He did have 15 home runs with 18 steals, but I would say it was a down year for him. Now, however, this spring training, Double M, Matt McClain, it looks like he's back. The OPS 1.540 with 7 dingers in spring training. So he's going to be right in the middle of that potent Reds lineup. expect, as you called it earlier, Great America Small Park, so he should benefit from that. Look for a big year for Matt McClain. This next guy, not really a sleeper by any means, but I think just huge potential, big upside, and that's Wyatt Langford. Currently, ADP around 41, where he's currently slotted. 2023, he was the fourth overall pick, coming out of Florida, so highly touted prospect. Last year, his OPS 775, 22 bombs, 22 swipes. I think you can absolutely expect him to increase that. So look for an OPS maybe around 850. I think he's going to flirt with 30 dingers for the Texas Rangers. And then last but not least, Jackson Merrill, the 2024 NL Rookie of the Year runner-up to our pal Paul Skeens. Currently was at the 61 was his ADP. I think he can outperform that. There is some pedigree with him. He was the 27th overall pick in 2021. Again, he was the runner-up for Rookie of the Year in 2024. Last year, he did deal with a couple injuries. He only played in 115 games. Managed to get a 774 OPS with 16 bombs. His weakness, not a ton of speed. He did only have one steal. Maybe injuries played a little factor into that, but he's on my team, and I expect a big bounce back year for Jackson Merrill.
All right, so I have 4 names here as well. Name number 1 that I don't think many people have probably heard of outside of the nation's capital here is Dalen Lyle, outfielder for the Washington Nationals. So Dalen Lyle, I think he's going to shock a lot of people this year. He actually did make the team as an outfielder for the Nationals. In 2025, he had 351 plate appearances, so a little over half a season. He batted 299 with 9 home runs, 41 RBIs, and 8 stolen bases. His expected batting average was 302, and he's going right now currently around ADP of 200. So somebody that you can certainly snag later in the draft, expecting big things from him. Next guy, Michael Harris, outfielder for Atlanta. I think a household name kind of gets lost in the sauce there in Atlanta. But I'm gonna go out on a whim here, Harv, and say that Michael Harris and Ronald Acuna Jr. both have 30-30 seasons. Moving on to Max Muncy. We're talking the Max Muncy of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Um, let's face it, after he fixed his eyes last year, the dude was incredible. I think he was talked about briefly on episode 1. He's gonna have regular bats in a fantastic lineup. Eyes are fixed. His counting stats are gonna be up. I could see him batting to the tune of 250 to 260. Like his value there as well. He falls down the list pretty far at third base. And the last guy is Dalton Varsho with the Toronto Blue Jays here. So there's an interesting stat that I saw the other day with the Dalton Varsho. He's going to be batting second, by the way, after George Springer and before Vlad Jr. So I think that the run production and the RBI production is going to be there. He's had a terrific spring, and I think we kind of have to take these spring performances with a grain of salt because they are spring results, right? But who really cares? He's hit a handful of dingers. That's fantastic. The thing that strikes me as more interesting, typically his strikeout rate is around 25%, which is extraordinarily high. Do you want to go ahead and guess what his spring training strikeout percentage is?
Spring training strikeout percentage. I'll say 40%.
4.3. There's a decimal in the middle there. 4.3%. So about 1 in every 25 at bats. So he is hitting the ball hard. He's hitting the ball when it's in the zone. He took Ryan Weathers deep on a 97-mile-an-hour fastball as well. So the bat is getting around. And Dalton Varsho is a guy that is dropping significantly in draft. Somebody that you can get certainly a lot later than some of those premier outfielders. I am very, very high on Dalton Varsho this year.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Zums. Now let's land this plane and have a little fun. The auction house. We're going to do hitters and pitchers, and we're only concerned with home runs and strikeouts. So, for those of you at home and watching, we'll start with Shohei Ohtani, and then we're going to basically bid on how high we think the home run total will go for Otani and further. So Zums, you know the game. I will start at 20 home runs for Shohei Otani.
I will go 25 home runs.
All right, I'll go 30.
I will go 34 home runs.
I'll go 35.
I'll go 36.
Yours. So Zums, 36 stingers for Shohei Otani. Next, Aaron Judge. Let's start the bidding at 20 home runs.
I will take 40 home runs.
I'll go 41.
I'll go 42.
I'll go 43.
I'll go 45.
It's yours. You want to make a friendly wager? We got to make a friendly wager for this.
Sure.
Think of it. Think of it. We'll come up with it at the end.
We'll figure it out. We'll let you guys know in episode 3.
There you go. Jose Ramirez. Ron drafted him pretty high. I had him last year. Let's start the bidding at 20 dingers for Jose Ramirez.
I'll go 21.
25.
I'll go 26.
I will go 29.
Keep them. You can take it.
Jose Ramirez. I feel really good about that. SFI. We said 29.
Yep.
He's gonna get that. Bobby Witt Jr. home runs. Let's start the bidding at 15.
I'll go 20.
I'll go 23.
I'll go 24.
I'll go 25.
I'll go 27.
I'll go 28.
Take him at 28.
I like it. Here's my NL MVP pick. Juan Soto. Let's start at 30.
I'll go 32.
I'll go 34.
I'll go 35.
I'll go 36.
I'll go 38.
I think I'll go 39.
I'll go 40.
All right, he's yours. Zom's 40 for Soto. Nick Kurtz, 20 dingers for Kurtz.
I'll go 21.
I'll go 27.
Oh man, I don't know about this one. I'll go.
You know
28.
you're gonna have to go wild for me with on this one.
I'll go 28.
29.
Keep them.
Oh man, that's a gimme. 29 in blood. Junior Caminero. I believe he had 45 bombs last year. Let's start the bidding at 25.
I'll go 30.
31.
32.
33.
35.
36.
37.
You can have him. 37 for Zoms. Last hitter here, and probably my favorite one that we'll do.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
O'Neal Cruz.
I need to bet here with my head.
Should we? Let's start at 5.
I mean, the season hinges on him hitting bombs, man. I'll go 10.
I'll go 20.
God, I have to go higher than that. I'll go 22.
I'll go 27. Did I should I have said 25?
I'll give you him at 27.
Oh man, you know I said earlier I think he's hitting 40,
Hey, listen, if he hits 40, I'll be thrilled.
and we'll be in the playoffs.
They'll be in the
All
playoffs,
right.
and I'll be in the playoffs.
Zums, you want to add any other hitters? That's the list I had. Is there any that you really wanted to do?
Ooh, really, really good question. Yeah, there is one I want to do.
Okay.
I wanna do Matt Olson.
Former
Yeah,
52 dinger guy.
he was a 50. I thought he was a 53 dinger guy, and then he had 29 the last two, I believe.
Where do you want to start the bidding?
I'm gonna set the bidding. I'm gonna set the bidding for Matt Olson at 24.
27,
28,
29,
30.
32,
Oh, that was my number. 33.
34.
Mm.
He's the better slugger out of him and Austin Riley.
Who's the better what?
He is the better slugger between him and Austin Riley. I like Matt Olson over Riley.
It's Matt Olson. You said 34?
I
Yeah,
believe I did.
screw it. We're going 35.
I'll let you have him.
Nice, thank you. Appreciate
That's a
that.
big year. 35 dingers is a nice year.
Listen. The last two guys that were named, O'Neal Cruz and Matt Olson, if they combine for 75, I think I'm going to be in good shape.
There you go.
Not mad about that. Let's do the strikeouts. Excited about
All
this
right.
one.
Let's start with our favorite, Paul Skeens.
Hmm.
I will start the bidding at 100 Ks.
Let's go 120,
130.
140.
Let's just check what he had last year, to be fair.
Sure.
He finished the year at 216. I will say 170 Ks.
180,
190.
195.
216.
You can take him at 216.
All right. Next, the other Cy Young, Tarek Skubal. Let's start the bidding at 150.
160.
For our viewers at home, let's see how many strikeouts he had last year. You said you're at 160.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll go 170.
180.
He had 241. 200,
215.
220,
227.
viewers. 227, right?
Yep.
We're thinking Skeens and Scuba are winning the Cy Young.
That's what
Oh,
you're thinking.
you like Hunter Brown.
That's what you're thinking. I'm thinking
You
about
like
Hunter
Hunter
Brown.
Brown. All right. One of my favorites, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Where do you want to start the bidding at?
130,
I'll go 150.
170.
175.
Take him.
Nice. Nice. 201 last year.
I just wonder about how many starts he's going to make, especially if they plan on using him the same way they used him last year in the playoffs. They're going to be there. They're going to run him out there in the playoffs. I just don't know if they're up by 15 games in the NL West. I just don't see a path to 35 starts or 32 starts. I don't see it. I think he's a great pitcher. I just don't see the number of starts being there.
This could potentially, perhaps, maybe, might be your favorite player that's not on your team, Christopher Sanchez. Is that am I close there?
Yeah, I think he's fantastic. I think you made an absolutely fantastic pick passing on your guy Nick Kurtz at 23 when you could have taken him. I think the proof's in the pudding there about how you feel about him as well.
And he just got paid big time.
Yeah, he's going to be there for a while.
Yep. So let's see. He last year, the left-hander, 212 strikeouts. Let's start the bidding at 170.
180,
190.
200,
205.
207.
209.
You can take him.
All right. Here's that name, Hunter Brown strikeouts. I will start at 140.
150.
160.
175.
And he had 206 last year. 180. Now remember, guys, this is Zum's Cy Young pick.
190.
196.
198.
199.
200.
I don't think Zums thinks. I think you're a little skeptical on Hunter Brown. I'm gonna let you have him. It was 200 flat.
I was hoping you were going to go 201. Shit.
He's yours now. And then last but not least, Mr. Deception himself, Logan Webb, strikeouts.
Speaking of, as of right now, we're kind of looking in live to the Giants Yankees season opener. Logan Webb's line right now: 2 innings pitched, 5 hits, 5 earned, 4 strikeouts.
So we know he's going to have at least 4. Let's start the bidding at 5.
Oh, that's tough.
And he had 224 Ks last year.
Wow, that is deceptive. I feel like he wasn't super efficient last year.
15 wins and in 207 innings.
175.
180.
194.
201.
206.
He's yours.
I'll take him.
Zums at 206. So I asked the same question with the hitters. Are there any pitchers that we missed?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah,
I want to go with Cole Reagans.
great one.
All right.
There could be some discrepancy here.
Sure.
I'll start at 100.
I'll go 115.
140.
160.
You can have him.
I'll take him at 160. I think that's a lock, given that his shoulder doesn't fall off.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah, I'm betting on an injury, but I like him. I've had him in the past. Left-hander.
I turned him from a colt to a horse,
You did. So
and
it's fitting that.
then I gave him to somebody else, and they didn't take care of him. So got him back
That's
now, and
right.
hopefully under my watch he'll be safe and he'll be effective. Safe and
So
effective.
Zums.
We've heard that before, right?
That's exactly right. 2 weeks to stop the spread.
That's right.
But
Flatten the
Zums, let's
curve.
land this plane. Episode 2. Man, it flies by. Chatting with you, a pleasure as always. I think we covered a lot of. I think this is an important episode because
Oh, yeah.
we're as you mentioned, the season is now underway. So again, our whole goal, first, we want to have some fun, share some laughs, maybe be a little uplifting. But at the end of the day, again, we're in this 20-team fantasy baseball league, which we know is rare. And so we're going to be doing this hard work regardless, whether we were doing this podcast or not. But that's the whole idea, is we want to share just what we're seeing. Maybe, I hate to say our wealth of knowledge, but at this point, I think it's hard to deny. So we're gonna do this all year long and make it fun and interactive. We do have some cool guests on the horizon. You can bank on that. We won't share who, but that's coming. Zum, any parting thoughts before we say goodbye to our viewers?
Yeah, let's face it. We're just 2 guys who love baseball. We're here on what I deem as opening day eve right now. I'm not sure about this whole Netflix, opening night thing. But we're just, two guys who love sitting down, analyzing the game, talking to you for, 2 hours, 3 hours a week, kind of deep diving here a little bit. I think episode two was a little bit smoother than episode one. We were kind of still working out the kinks. Hopefully, my corded headphones kind of cut down on the echo that we were hearing early on. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. Like I always say, we know that you have many options, in the fantasy baseball world. We appreciate you tuning in. Share the word. And as always, Sean, bless the troops.
Plus the troops. And this was episode 2 of Good Faith and Fastballs.